Okay. Can you hear me, Abhishek? All good?
I can hear you well, Kumar.
Okay.
Yes.
So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of Leadership Thought Leadership Series. The idea behind this leadership series is threefold. One, to talk about technology, AI, and data, which is core to us as Verdantis. The second, understand the leadership ethos of immediate personalities like Abhishek, and also to meet interesting people like Abhishek. So, very warm welcome, Abhishek. He joins us from the CITGO.
Thank
How are
you,
you doing?
Kumar. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Looking forward to our discussion today. I really appreciate you calling me on this series.
Thank you, Sitco. Thank you, Abhishek. Now, people who may not know Sitco, let me introduce Sitco. It's the fifth largest independent refiner headquartered in Houston. It operates a refiner, transporter, and a marketer of petroleum products. The company owns and operates three major refineries with the total capacity of around 800,000 barrels per day. In terms of the retail network, it markets its products through a vast network of independent retailers under the Sitco brand, which includes more than 4,500 branded retail outlets across 30 US states. So now talking about us. So maybe Abhishek, let's start in. Maybe if you can introduce yourself, what you do at
Yeah,
Sitco and your
thank you.
role.
So, Kumar, yes, I am the GM of procurement at CITGO Petroleum Corporation. I've been here about 3.5 years. Uh, it's been a great journey so far, working through supply chain. Overall, I was a marine engineer, worked on ships, and then transitioned into the supply chain arena where I worked at different areas of procurement and supply chain, logistics, inventory procurement. Uh, First in upstream and now in downstream. So um, that's been my brief journey. I like solving problems and like to have a purpose driven leadership. So looking forward to our conversation here today. Yes.
Thank you, Abhishek. To introduce myself, my name is Kumar Gaurav. I am the CEO at Verdantis. Our vision is to be an AI super agent for master data. More about us later on. So maybe let's dive in, Abhishek. You talked about it briefly on your supply chain journey, but I think you have had a very impressive journey. Okay, maybe if you can talk about what drew you in that. How does it all started? Why you actually chose supply chain?
Yeah, so Kumar, it has been a journey where I always was deeply curious about all the linkages of the world and how they are interconnected. Maybe that built into me with my earlier understandings of working on the containers and carriers, bulk carriers, working through different parts of the world, whether how the Japanese manufacturing powerhouse was feeding the world, or where how we were moving stuff between Australia and South Africa. So when I was working there, I developed a deep curiosity that
Yes.
percolated into the future of things that I did. Then when I moved in, did my masters and worked in a upstream, and when we were setting up a company called Pacific Drilling, I realized how critical it was for overall business, how many variables were connected to it, and how much it impacted the business in whichever wave or cycle the business was in. Whether it was a good or bad cycle, the supply chain was one of the driving part of the business. So that, along with my curiosity to solve problems, moved me deeper and deeper into the supply chain and procurement of this world.
This is awesome. So in nutshell, you are saying that solving problems and joining multiple points is something you are passionate about, and that leads you to the supply chain. This is great. This is great. Now this moves to our next question I have, Abhishek, particularly at Sitco, at your role, in your current role, what defines your leadership? What is the style you take actually? How do you decide your personal goals around it?
So it's a very deep question there, Kumar, because what it is whatever we do is deeply ingrained based on our beliefs and what
Mhm.
we are trying to achieve. So for me, the leadership starts with integrity and purpose. That's the started building block. Then you are trying to build onto it into a continuous improvement mindset. And
Mhm.
supply chain really thrives in a continuous improvement mindset because You're always looking at what's next and how can you add more efficiency to the world. How can you be very diligent in your integrity, whether you're selecting suppliers or deploying technology? How does this align with your customers or with the broader world needs that are being trying to be solved? And I may sound a little philosophical here, but think about it. The more efficiency that you bring, the less energy consumption there might be. So if you can improve the efficiency day by day, linkages and with the variables, then you are driving towards a more sustainable future as well. So even if it's like your energy needs don't go out, but you're trying to help more and more areas, and you are bringing more people out. So that's what drives us. That's what drives me particularly. My goal is to immediately think beyond what is the immediate result of today, but what is the broader impact of our actions.
That's awesome. Actually, that's awesome. And that brings to my next thought. And, when you were talking about, I was thinking about CITGO. So, if you can talk about Abhishek broadly, what are the core objectives, overall, what is available from a CITGO perspective? And also, what are your priorities? And also, what are the challenges that keeps you awake in the night?
So, I'll take a moment here and saying, what are we trying to do at CITGO? We want to be an efficient organization bringing energy to the world, right? So,
Mhm.
what excites me is the opportunity to innovate, specifically integrating new technologies, bringing them into supply chain, and bringing them into a broader operation. Second, I get to work with an exceptional team that thrives on solving tough challenges, which is always up for challenges. And I am as good as what my team is, and honestly, they make me then rather than I make them. So, working with a good team which is delivering the value is what thrives us. As for challenges, managing the complexity of the global supplier networks and ensuring that our operations are sustainably creating value is what we are looking for. It's a dynamic world, as you would know. It changes every day. There may be tariffs, there may be regulations, there may be change in regulations, and we have to work through those, and we have to ensure that the value creation continues happening.
I think thank you, Abhishek, for highlighting that, and this is the philosophy even I follow. You are as good as your team. So, it's a core one. Thank you for highlighting. Now, this brings to another important topic, and thanks you for highlighting the unprecedented challenges we face in today's world. So, I was just thinking about what's happening in the world in the last, especially in the last 4 years. After I believe COVID was particularly a black swan event, and all this uncertainty around, 50% of the world going elections, the oil prices tumbling down, inflation, inching upward. All this results in supply chain. I think the only word which defines supply chain is being resilient. Now, in your view, what does resilience in supply chain means, and how at CITGO you are approaching the same?
So resilience in the supply chain means is you continue the operations as efficiently as you ever have done without getting impacted by how the world changes. I This may be um, utopian view, but the fact is, if you build a resilient supply chain, you can manage the challenges much better, whether it's driven
Mhm.
by man-made or whether it's nature-made challenges. You will always have challenges because it's a dynamic world. Whether it's COVID that upended the supply chains of the world, or whether the war that changed and this is not the only time it's happening. It's going to continue happening. How can you sustain working and optimizing the supply chain is the key. So that's for me is the most important. And how do you build it? You build it with intelligence, you build it with data, you build with options, you build with thinking through the issues that may come and having plans around it. And the more you can model it, the more you are preemptively prepared for it, the better for your supply chain. Now, there be always an event that will knock you down and say, you never thought about it. That will happen. It will happen. Who
Yes.
would have thought
Yes.
COVID would have come that quickly? It will happen. But how you respond and the resilience of your supply chain will come into picture during those times.
No, that's true. That's true. So you can't control. That's where the resilience part comes in. But what are, in your view, what are the two, three important initiatives you are driving at CITGO, managing the resilient piece of the supply chain, in your thoughts?
So for us, it starts with having the data-driven mindset, the fact that we emphasize a lot on the core KPIs, the
Mm-hmm.
focus that we have on the continuous improvement, and the focus that we have on having a cleaner data. We have worked with different organizations to clean the data, have the clear picture of what we are looking at, and where our pain points are. We also did a project with one of the universities to see how a natural disaster may impact us. So we have also modeled that into. Uh, it's not perfect, but it gives us an indication of what we should be stocking, how the inventory should behave. So data not only means about material master, but also about what kind of inventory we should have, how should we respond. So those are the things that we keep on thinking. I would be the first one would say that we have not mastered the art. It's difficult to master the art, but we are moving towards a direction.
Oh, this is actually, and thank you for highlighting. I think that was my next question, but you answered it more about the data actually, and that's where the focus is. So, you talked about some of the initiatives you have happened, you've taken in the past. Any thoughts around what are the planned initiatives around data for the next few years?
So our focus will always be on having a good data to make decision. We will always
Mhm.
continue moving from one place to another when we talk about data, whether it's MetaMasters or whether about how our procurement data is or our vendor data is. We will
Mhm.
continue focusing and making sure that, because for us it's the lifeblood, it's the blood lifeblood of the supply chains. It's what is helps the supply chain thrive. And then we'll move into the inventory. We have also thought about how can we better use service masters and how can we integrate that into our greater realm. And that will, I would say, percolate into the AI for us to use AI more into our decision making. Now when I also talk about data, we talk about, we have been emphasizing a lot on inventory as well. So whether it's uh, parts or whether it's services, we are looking at through and through and making sure that we have a clarity on what we are trying to achieve there.
Is it around the inventory forecasting you are doing it or managing across the value chain? What is the focus?
It's more about the forecasting, but it's also about the value chain. We want to make sure that forecasting is also very accurate, but it's also about the accuracy of the information that we have about the expiry and stuff like that of the material, and also making sure that this is the part that is usable. So we are trying to clean a lot of that master
Very good.
data.
This is awesome. This is awesome. And this, thank you for mentioning AI actually. That leads to my something we at Verdantis are quite passionate. Now, we've been hearing and talking a lot about AI. In your view, is it a buzzword? Is it something really useful? Or you see next few years people really leveraging it?
So till now, it has been a buzzword, but I will tell you, like, but I will say the people who use it accurately will show the path to the broader audience. So
Hmm.
I've been part of many conferences where I've spoken as well. One of the questions that always comes is, are we really using AI? And the answer is, there may be some companies that are using it better than other, but the people who will use better than other will have an advantage overall. So the fact is that we have to use it. It's here to stay. It is going to change the way we do the business, and we have to utilize it in the right areas. So how we utilize it and where we utilize it is the going to be the key part of it. I remember data science used to be a big word, buzzword before and used to be, but many times I would work with those data scientists, and for them, it was always about identifying what is the real world challenge that they are trying to solve. And that's what the challenge of AI is going to be. What is the real world challenge that we are trying to solve today? And it's how can we connect. So if AI can really solve the person in the field, and I'm going to talk about from refinery perspective,
Yes.
if we can solve the day to day of a person in the field, then we have really utilized our technology to deliver value. If we cannot solve that, then we can try to build the strategies around it, but is it impacting the last mile of our delivery or not, is the question. So I feel the next few years are going to be AI driven. There are a lot of use cases. There are a lot of places that it can be used. It's just about you using them and making sure that the value creation is happening.
This is awesome. No, no, I agree. I think I agree, and I think because we're talking about AI, I want to mention something. You're right. When we also talk to a lot of customers or in the conferences, the biggest challenge people have is how can you have a meaningful use case for AI? You talk about a lot of things. So I will talk about three of the use cases we have seen organizations helping leveraging. Like in one of the areas we are enriching and we are working with the companies to enrich their product master data that helps them in managing the maverick spend. The second area is we are trying to link product or a materials master data with the BOM and equipment, thereby helping organizations around inventory optimization. Third, in some of the companies in the oil and gas only, we are working around the vendor harmonization governance, thereby helping them providing the visibility around spend and also the spend overall spend management. That's the thought process.
So the thing is, spend management is the key area
Yes.
that people can right away use their AI. Like in
Yes.
my opinion, most companies can review their tel spend and categorize it using AI right away. It's a
Yes.
no brainer in my opinion. It's
Yes.
like this exercise used to take a lot of time, and with AI, this can really help you understand where, like as I said, spend is a data, right? Spend is a
Yes.
data that you should use, and categorizing that AI can be really helpful. And I would say at CITGO, we have tried to utilize some of that. And then there are more use cases that we have been thinking about contracts and how to manage them and how to negotiate them, or where can we use AI in our RFIs and RFQs. There is going to be substantial, and it's like, in my opinion, it's a tool that we should use, whether we like it or not. This is here to stay, and we have to use it.
No, this is here to stay, actually. I agree. I agree. Now, one thing, actually, Abhishek, you mentioned, and I want to circle back on that. You talked about services. For CITGO, the services is a big thing, actually, because of the contracted labor. So maybe if you can talk about more on that, what are the thought process? What are the initiatives you're driving around it?
So services is where, as I said again, the categorization of the spend of the services, ensuring that we have the right information available. How do we
Yeah.
manage it better? What are the right controls? We continue think about it. We continue to evolve. We have really good tools that we have with us, and how to enhance those tools is the key question that we have. So we work through those.
Okay, 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 okay.
And
Because I
also,
think,
like as I said, service masters are going to be key in that journey. We are also thinking about that and stuff. So they have been very value added overall in some of the stuff. We have some tools that we have at refineries that we have been using. So there is a lot of work going on there. I would say that.
no, this is awesome. This is awesome. So before we move towards the next question, just so you talked about a lot of things, the plans you're thinking. Now, other than AI, blockchain, any emerging technologies, is there any future plans you can highlight? You want to highlight? You talked few of them, but anything we missed out or something you want to mention?
No, I would say the this is a continuously evolving process, and I would as a this is my message to most supply chain professionals would be, is that use tools when they are needed and where they are needed. Let's not
Yeah.
get fixated on what we are trying to use. Rather, the focus should be what we are trying to solve and what is the right tool to solve that problem is the key question always that we should ask ourselves. So whether it's AI, whether it's data, or whether it's personality traits. There are different things that solve different kinds of problem. What are the variables we are trying to solve? Are we trying to solve a price problem, or we are trying to solve a volume problem? Are we trying to get better at what we do, or we are trying to figure out the better pricing of it? So there different tools have different problems have different tools. So we should use these tools as and when we need them. That's what my suggestion would be.
Yeah, okay, this is awesome. I think this course, this is actually being, the message is true to your purpose. Have a clear objective, and then probably think about how do you, implement and go over it, rather than just trying to create, something out of it just because to, advise, or maybe just, for a sake of doing it. Don't do that. It's a very good advice
Right.
actually for. Yeah. So I
It's
think.
like as I say, like we have different tools. We have Power BIs, we have spreadsheets, we have AI driven thought processes. So tools are there going to be, like, using the right tool for the right problem is going to be
Yes.
the critical part about it.
So
Mhm.
before we wrap up, and maybe just a separate question and a thought and open-ended, Abhishek, what are your thoughts over the next 5 7 years for yourself? How do you see you, growing and taking the word? What's your thought?
So for me, that's for I'm always driven by where the value creation is, and we continue to work through those. So personally, for me, it will always be about the value creation and where the next step where I can add value would be. So I've been working on some of the projects on the side along with what my role is. So I always identify those and help wherever I can. So next, it's a long journey, but I do think that as supply chain and procurement evolves, I'll be evolving as well. We'll be working through that. Some of them together, some of them separately. So that's going to be the path in next few years. It's an open-ended answer, but it's a very
No, no,
open-ended
which is
question.
okay. No,
Question
no,
as
no.
well.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving it. But I think it talks a lot about it's a balancing act. So from my side, I think there are two nuggets of wisdom I've got actually. When I speak to you, I think one, in today's world, especially in the supply chain, there is nothing called stability. It's all about resilience. You have to live it, you have to experience it, you have to think about, you have to believe that's going to come. So be resilient. There's no stability. Don't look for a, there's no, otherwise you're living in a utopian world. That's the first. The second
Agree.
is, I think whatever you do, I think technology has to be core of it. Okay. Some organizations have understood it. Some organizations are still learning towards that part. But I think that will decide a lot of leaders from laggards, and we talk about next 10 years. So thank you, Abhishek. I think any closing comments from your side?
No, definitely. No, you have summed it very well, very well. There's nothing called stability in supply chain world. Having worked there for 14, 15 years, the day you think that you know it all, then the
The world
playing field
collapse.
will change.
Yeah.
Yes, a single election, a single war, or a single disaster will change your thoughts about what you thought you will be achieving that year. But the fact is that supporting the business and working through it and supporting the broader aim is the key about it. And as you mentioned, technology is going to continue evolving. You have to evolve with it and continue to work through it. So that will separate laggards with leaders there. Yes, definitely. Very well summed, Kumar. Great discussion here, and thank you for letting me express my views here.
Thank you, Abhishek. It was great having you, and thank you for a partnership. And look forward to many more milestones. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you.
Bye. Yeah.
Yep.